promise of riches has drawn many a wretched soul into this jungle. Many perished from malaria, dengue fever, venomous insects, and snake bites. And some from losing their sanity in pursuit of their dreams. Gold, precious jewels, exotic timber, they've all tempted the weak and the greedy. But I'm searching for something that means more to me than all of that. Hey, do you guys have any gum? Sometimes you can make the coolest things out of other people's trash, like this makeshift, super-duper, gum-collecting Zamboni-like machine. Pushing it down one of the busiest streets in my city, I wanted to see how popular chewing gum is, since it's the world's second most common form of litter. That's after cigarette butts. Are you chewing gum right now?
I am.
Would you add to our gum collecting machine? How often do you chew gum?
Probably every day. Chronic gum chewer.
Do you chew gum?
Around 100 years ago.
You're chewing gum too. You gotta contribute to our collection here. Our gum-obsessed planet chews trillions of sticks of gum a year. That's enough gum to pave a road from Earth to Mars. And most of us don't know what it's made of or how we came to chewing the stuff. Well, believe it or not, the story about gum is surprisingly ancient and universal, offering us a fascinating window into our origins and a shocking reflection on our current culture. I know my young family wants to join the chomping masses, keeping the ancient habit alive, but like many habits of pastimes, like driving without seatbelts, throwing trash out the window, and spraying DDT on your children, was chewing gum about to become public enemy #1 in my household? Would my investigation turn me into the neighborhood curmudgeon? Would my family and friends turn their backs on me for even questioning this ancient, so-called innocuous, fun tradition? For the sake of my sanity, Mother Nature, and the sanctity of my family, I needed to know if there was truly a dark side of the chew.
Then you go straight, there's a bridge over there.
Yep.
Then after the bridge, you just see it's in front of you.
Okay, great. Thank you. We're making a movie.
You're making a movie?
Yes.
What is it about?
Chewing gum.
Chewing gum?
Yeah, the world's oldest piece of gum is here, I think. Yes. In my quest to understand our universal fascination with all things chewy, I have taken planes, trains, and automobiles to get halfway across the world to the wilds of northern Finland, which is home to the world's oldest fossilized pieces of gum. According to the tour book, while examining a Stone Age village here in Kyrki in northern Finland, archaeologists came upon an all too familiar sight.
We have been digging here for 8 summers now, and there has been a house in this shallow depression about 5,500 years ago.
Here, where a Stone Age house once stood, they found an unusual material made from birch bark. I'm looking for chewing gum. Do I just start digging at the top here, or is there a technique?
We just take very carefully some soil with a trowel to dustpan and then move it into a bucket. The first gum that came from the ground in this place was found in 2007.
Oh, I found something. Is that chewing gum?
No, that's not chewing gum. This is just soil.
Neolithic man would melt the sap off birch bark in a clay pot, creating a tar-like substance that was used for mending broken pots, affixing arrowheads to wooden sticks, and of course, chewing. But over 5,000 years ago, the villagers here found another use for their Stone Age crazy glue.
Nice and warm.
It is.
While telling stories around the fire.
Here we are sitting beside the fire, as probably the Stone Age people have been doing, because it's nice and it's warm. It is also like the heart of the house. Here in Kierikki area and some other places where they have been doing excavations, they have found this birch bark gums around the fireplaces. I think that there has been the purpose of using it like a chewing gum.
Lena then took me to what the Finns refer to as one of their national treasures. Wow. Look at that.
There have been found more than 200 here in Finland, and they are mostly dated 4,000 to 3,000 BC, and they, surprisingly many, they have the teeth markings.
So this guy over here would be chewing that ancient gum?
Oh, yes, of course. You have the very much same look.
The same look,
yes,
huh?
Yeah.
Except I'm wearing Armani and he's wearing Seal.
Okay, yes.
Fashion trends may have changed a few million times since the days of slapping on seal fur went out of vogue, but our desire to chew sticky stuff hasn't wavered. Back home, I'm delving deep into the human psyche to understand our relationship with gum.
Andrew?
And psychologist Dr. Richard Amaral is just the man for the job. Why do we like to chew? What is it about chewing that attracts us? Are we wired to love to chew?
The joint here in the jaw, the temporal mandibular joint, the TMJ, that joint, when it's moved regularly, actually seems to lower stress, improve people's mood. So the act of chewing gum is in itself a pleasurable feeling, that regular movement of the jaw.
Maybe he's right, but I think the act of chewing anything would do the same, although chewing gum seems to be the preferred choice world over. In Mexico City, anthropologist Jennifer Matthews has been drawn to the story of gum.
Yeah, I think people think of something like chewing gum as something kind of innocuous, something kind of trivial. But in fact, when you start to look into the history of it, there is so much complexity to it and a lot of major impacts in terms of environmental issues, economic issues, human rights issues, and that it really is something that people should know more about.
As Jennifer gave me the modern-day tour of Mexico's ancient chewing grounds, I was amazed to discover that just beyond the square, in the heart of Mexico City, was once an Aztec city, whose inhabitants loved to chew chicle gum, which they harvested from the sapodilla tree found in the rainforest. But unlike the streets of Mexico today, the ancient sidewalks were clean because it was impolite to chew gum in public. A few thousand years later, when chicle was introduced to the American market, it spread like wildfire. Like sugar, chocolate, and coffee, chicle was to become one of nature's prized commodities, and it was going to meet the ever-growing demand from a world longing to chew. And boy, do the gum manufacturers know how to market their product. The Beechnut Gum Company associated their brand with aviation pioneer Amelia Earhart, when the eyes of the world were following her aeronautical exploits. The William Wrigley Jr. Company was the first to put billboards in Times Square in New York City and gumball machines in the subways. Wrigley's spearmint gum was even included as a staple in American soldiers' K-ration kits.
Millions of K-rations. Each container has a tin of meat or cheese, the soy and other biscuits, a concentrated chocolate bar, fruit bar or dextrose candies, coffee, lemon or soup powder, instantly soluble in cold or hot water. cigarettes, and that American nerve tonic, chewing gum.
Between 1941 and 1945, over 150 billion sticks of gum were shipped overseas. Gum, the Army claimed, would help calm the soldiers in the trenches, stave off hunger, and quench thirst. Before long, the hype had everyone chewing gum. But when the flavor would go stale, most spat it on the ground. In 1966, the then mayor of New York City was so annoyed by the cost of cleaning up discarded gum, he raised litter fines to combat the goopy mess left behind from decades of gum consumption. A few years later, I came along, and before I could use a potty, I begged my mom for spare change to buy stuff from the gumball machine. At that time, gum was full of sugar, and being the sugar junkie that I was, I lapped it up. Now I guess my middle-aged chompers might need some repairing. Yes, the one place we all love to hate, the dentist. But I shouldn't have to worry, because for years I heard the gum commercials claim that gum was good for oral hygiene. Right?
Come on down. You look happy?
Well, you know. I'm happy to meet you, but
I hear ya. Make yourself at home,
I
man.
still want to find out if I have any cavities. Do you have any gas?
It's actually being piped into the room right now. So we're gonna try this in for you.
All right.
Make sure it's comfortable. Bear with me, I'll get it open as wide as you can.
Well, I can't. I want to go. So, am I healthier?
Well, it depends. It depends on when you're chewing gum. Back 20, 30 years ago when you were maybe chewing gum, a lot of the gums may have contained sugar.
Uh-oh. The gum I chewed was laced with sugar.
I think I just found a cavity. Ooh. So you can see towards the back here, there's a little bit of a crack developing, and this is where I was kind of finding a little bit of a sticky spot. So what's happening is food is getting pushed into that little crack, and it's so narrow and so small that the bristles of a toothbrush actually doesn't clean it out effectively.
Either you're exposing yourself to sugar that's decaying your teeth, or you're exposing yourself to artificial flavors and sweeteners. What would you choose?
Personally, I use sugar-free gum with aspartame or any other sort of ingredients, but I try to stick to xylitol. It's a little bit more of a natural ingredient compared to everything else, and xylitol itself can actually inhibit the growth of a certain type of bacteria, which actually causes decay.
So I was reading that chewing gum can affect your cavities.
Chewing on a day-to-day basis, whether it's gum or food, can release mercury vapor. There is some evidence, and some studies have shown that chewing lots of gum will actually increase mercury in mercury vapors and cause a spike in mercury levels in your blood, but there's no evidence to show that it will cause long-term issues.
Anyone ever steal these glasses? Because they're kind of cool.
Bono came in here and took a pair.
He did?
He did.
I knew I liked this dentist.
Yeah.
I'm switching over to you, by the way.
We'll see you soon.
You take good care of me, you promise?
Absolutely.
All right.
Absolutely.
Gum has always been marketed as something medicinal. Good for your health. Got indigestion? Chew gum. Although my dentist may disagree with my sugary gumball addiction, the gum industry's marketing strategies worked incredibly well. In fact, they became victims of their own success. In the post-war years, the gum base that was derived from chicle became tapped out. Supply could no longer keep up with demand. Something else was desperately needed to replace this precious commodity, or a world of gum addicts would be left high and dry. The gum companies didn't look far. What was heating our homes, powering our cars, and creating our plastics was now destined for our mouths. The petrochemical industry was going to ensure that there'd be no shortage of delicious gum for us or our children. So how much has the formulation for gum changed since then? I went to McGill University in Montreal to find out. Could you describe to me exactly what gum is made of?
Gum consists of what is called gum base. which is the essential rubbery stuff that we chew. And then, of course, there are the flavors and the colors that are added to it. But it's the gum base that really makes the gum. The standard gum base is made of a synthetic rubber. It's a mixture of polybutadiene, polystyrene, and polyvinyl acetate. Basically, it's composed of very, very long molecules we call polymers. And they're made of little molecules called monomers joined together in a long chain.
Another chemical, polyisobutane, or PIB, is a synthetic polymer that gives gum its elasticity. PIB is also used in a variety of products, like lubricants for engines. A few years ago, thousands of dead birds washed up on the English coast, and they were covered in PIB flushed from ship engines. Globally, we consume more than 900,000 tons of PIB, which is equal to the weight of almost 3 Empire State Buildings yearly. It looks like gum, it tastes like gum, but do these ingredients really belong in our mouths? And there's another ingredient that causes me to worry.
Vinyl acetate is a problem. Now, what do we mean by that it's a problem? It means that if you feed it in large doses to test animals, you can in fact trigger adverse reactions, including cancer. But those are gigantic doses, nothing compared to the trace amounts that are left behind in the polyvinyl acetate. We're talking about thousands of times greater amounts needed in animals, more sticks of gum than possibly can fit into your mouth.
That's the view of established science, but others aren't so sure, even if they don't have peer-reviewed scientific research behind them.
What do you have when you have gum? You have petroleum-derived, artificial color, artificial flavor, mass of resins and plasticizers with the occasional sprinkling of polyvinyl acetate, which, yes, folks, it's used in paints and adhesives.
Secret formulas for flavoring are also added to the mix, and many chewing gum brands are now artificially sweetened with chemicals like aspartame.
The fact is that food additives are very, very stringently regulated, and the requirement to get an additive on the market are extremely, extremely rigorous. Aspartame is the most widely researched food additive ever to have come on the market. Can we guarantee that it's safe under all conditions? No, no one can ever make such a guarantee about anything.
So established science is reassured, but aspartame's been controversial since it was first marketed 30 years ago, when the FDA approved it, and the alternative health community has always colorfully disapproved.
Basically, when you consume aspartame, it metabolizes in the body to 2 products. One is wood alcohol, which is a known poison, and the second one is formaldehyde, which is embalming fluid.
Yikes, am I the only one who didn't know what was in gum? At this consumer research company, we got them conducting a focus group to find out just that.
Hi everybody, how are we?
Good.
Good, thanks for joining us today. All right, so we're here to talk a little bit about gum. It shouldn't take too long. It's important to share your honest opinions. There's no right or wrong answers. Just tell us what you're thinking, answer the questions as straightforward as possible. Any questions? What do you guys think gum's made of?
I have no idea what gum is. I assume there's some sugar in there and like all those sugar substitutes and then something to make it chewy.
So if I said that, gums are made with the same polymers used in plastics and that kind of stuff, what would you think about that?
When you actually say it out loud, it's really gross. It just feels like something that you shouldn't be putting in your mouth or eating. It doesn't seem right.
Anything that I consume, I would like to be something organic that I know decomposes into natural things. Mm-hmm. Okay. I don't want to be consuming something that lives on a sidewalk for months and months.
It was funny, once people thought about it, you actually saw like a look of disgust almost come over their face. They're like, well, wait a minute, why can't I chew it for 6-7 hours and it doesn't go? Like, that's not right, that's not normal.
Amazing that most people don't have any idea what gum is really made of, that how unnatural traditional gum out there is. And I think we were a little bit surprised that they really didn't have a clue.
Less than 60 years ago, most of us were chewing on chicle, and now we're chomping on plastic. So how did the gum companies keep us from thinking about what's in gum? Well, they decided long ago their messages aren't about what's in gum, but what gum can do for you. I'm here in New York City with sociologist, gumologist Laura Noren to discover what messages the gum companies want us to associate with their product. If they don't want us to think about plastic every time we chew, what do they want us thinking about? What will make us want to buy their product?
Economy candy is a fun house for kids, but it's also a major nostalgia trip for adults.
Look at this over here. Bazooka Joe from Israel. Shabbat Shalom. That's Bazooka Joe. Seeing all this gum, I flash back to my childhood filled with gumball machines, Bazooka Joe comics, Big League Chew, gum tape, gum smokes, and I can't forget about the gum gold nuggets. The nugget bubblegum. I love collecting the cloth bags they came in for my G.I. Joe adventures. So where are we right now?
So this is the Lower East Side. It's historically sort of a working class Hispanic neighborhood, but it's now that plus a total destination, a nightlife destination for young 20-somethings. All of the gum spots that are around here, they're not coming from the kids. This is really the remnants of the fresh breath crowd. They're out, they're on a date, they don't want to have the bad breath, they've been drinking, freshen up, they come outside, they maybe smoke a cigarette, chew a piece of gum, and they go back inside, but they don't want to go back inside, chewing away on some piece of gum, getting someone's number. That's not going to work, so, it ends up on the sidewalk.
The gum marketers have hit the mother lode by associating their products with attractiveness.
The civilizing process is basically, how do you, as a human, mark yourself off from animals? We are animals, but how do you make it so that you don't come across as an animal? One of the ways you do that is you pay a lot of attention to your body, to make your body clean, to make it not like an animal, to pay a lot of attention to what comes out of your body. And it doesn't surprise me at all that one of the sort of last frontiers of figuring out how not to be like an animal is paying attention to the very breath that comes out of your body. It's intangible, but you can smell it. That has perfectly coincided with the practice of chewing gum.
So gum chewing can help boost your confidence by getting rid of bad breath. But there's more. The gum industry claims that chewing gum can actually improve your grades. Well, if that's true, maybe I would consider letting my kids, Sebastian and Hunter, chew all the time. I'd shower them with cases of gum at the beginning of the school year. So long, math tutor. Hello, double bubble. When my son Sebastian came home from school and told me that his teacher was allowing him to chew gum during tests because it helps increase concentration and memory, I just had to see it for myself. To test these brain-boosting claims, I convinced my son's school board to let me conduct a little experiment. We want to divide you up into 3 groups. There's the red group, the white group, and the blue group. So you're wearing color-coded shirts, and I'd like you to get into your groups right now. The plan was to have one group write the test without chewing gum, another group write the test after exercising, because I once heard that was good for the brain. Did you write any answers on your arm? And the last group would chew gum while writing the test. Ready, set, go. While the non-chewers began the test, I bring the exercisers out to get the blood flowing. Are you ready? Yeah. Set, go. Should we stop at 5 or should we keep going? Now, the first groups did very well, but will they be blown out of the water by gum-chewing, brainiacs. So the big question is this bag of colorful chewing gum gonna make you smarter? You guys really want to test out the gum and make sure that... Okay, so just take two. And you can start chewing your gum now. Okay, everybody, pencils down. If you had the choice, hands up if you'd like to chew gum when you write tests.
I focus on the test more. I think better. Calms your nerves down.
We had some incredible results. Thanks to you guys. You did a fantastic job writing your tests. According to our not very scientific study here today, third place is Team Blue. Our chewers, for coming in last, get a bag of apples. The exercisers, who came in second last, claim a bag of oranges. And the kids, who neither chewed nor exercised, got the prized possession of them all, a big, colorful bag of gumballs. So where are the gum companies getting their data to back up their claims that chewing gum helps you concentrate? Well, I didn't have to go far to find out, just a click away. Do you feel after doing all these experiments that there is a strong correlation between chewing gum and it reducing stress and increasing memory?
I think the effects are fragile in that, some of the studies haven't found these effects. Actually, the memory effects are sometimes there, sometimes not. The most robust effect seems to be increases in self-rated alertness. There are times when the brain demands more basic fuels, and anything that will increase the levels of these fuels, glucose and oxygen, to the brain, either by increasing their availability or by increasing their delivery, will improve elements of cognitive function. The original studies were self-funded. Since then, we have had some funding from Wrigley to look at it a bit further. So we have received money from Wrigley.
Do you chew gum?
I do chew gum, yeah.
Okay. Do you find it helps improve your memory and concentration?
I really don't know. Probably my colleagues would say no.
I am standing in the one and only place in North America where you can't buy chewing gum. Disney's aversion to gum was all about aesthetics. After all, if you owned a Magic Kingdom, would you want people sticking their spit-laced gum all over it? Who can blame him? But what about our world? Was it time for us to follow Disney's lead? I've taken a trip to another place that also takes gum pollution very seriously. And that's London, England.
So we are the biggest shopping area in the world, Bond Street, Oxford Street and Regent Street right here in London. 2.7 million pieces of gum being dropped on our pavement every single year. That's 925,000 pieces at any one time on our walkways right here in the centre of London. A big sticky situation that we have to clean up. We'd spend about £1 million a year on the street improvements, which includes the gum and picking that up, about half of that amount of money, £500,000 a year, just on reducing gum in the area. I can imagine across London, across the UK, you're spending over £100 million a year, whether it's private businesses or local authorities, getting rid of the gum on our sidewalks in our public spaces. I think imagine if we're spending £100 million a year cleaning up, imagine what the world is spending cleaning this up. You must be getting into billions of pounds or dollars at some point. So it's a big, costly cleanup operation that we're undertaking every single day around the world.
This is a battle fought away from the masses in the middle of the night. where steam and high-powered water combined with chemicals are used to melt gum off concrete, one piece at a time.
People don't realise when they finish with their gum, it's just a habit they have of discarding it, you know. Even though you've got the bubble gums and the bins and stuff to put it in.
So how many years have you been doing this?
33 years.
33 years? You've been cleaning
years.
gum off the street
Gum
for
off the
33 years? For 33 years, it's been a problem.
That's it. You're saying this don't spray too much in the crack here?
Yeah.
Because you'll get a blowback.
You'll get a blowback.
Yeah.
I don't want a blowback.
You don't want a blowback. All you'll get is a nice taste of bubble gum.
I definitely don't want to try this gum. A recent study in Tokyo found that a single piece of gum waste can contain thousands of bacteria. Gross. I think that piece is a good piece, yeah?
I think it's a good piece to hit.
So there. It's taking a long time.
No, you have to go down in on close. You have to go in on close. You have to stand and then you'll see the effect it will cut. It will cut through at an angle.
Oh, I
there
see.
you are. See?
Amazing to think that it takes an enormous amount of water, energy, and time to remove such hardy little blobs.
We'll hire you straight away.
All right. Gum removal doesn't end in the UK, and it's not only high-pressured steam that's being used to get the job done. In cities across the globe, gum removal experts use special brushes, unique chemical formulations, and even patented aerosol sprays to try and clean up the mess. From the farthest reaches of the world to your own city, gum waste is a big problem. Now, if I offer you a piece of gum, what do you think?
No.
No?
No.
Why not?
No, thank you. I don't want to. I don't actually chew bubble gum.
You don't chew gum?
No.
Because of the job, or?
It just puts you off of eating bubble gum. Actually, it's not even bubble gum, it's just plastic.
Yep, that's right.
It's just plastic, really. All you're chewing is plastic. You're not actually chewing bubble gum. It's just a bit of flavour added to plastic, and that's it you're chewing.
What about your kids?
Yeah, my kids don't eat bubble gum either.
No?
No.
You've convinced
I
them
convinced them once I showed them there was plastic inside, so I'm not eating bubble gum no more.
Like other plastic pollution, some gum cleaned up off our sidewalks gets washed away into our rivers, lakes, and oceans. In Fredonia, New York, chemist Sherry Mason is the first scientist to study the effects of plastic contamination in the Great Lakes, a water source for over 37 million people. We're about to get on the boat and go out in the water and talk about your research. And all of a sudden, you're looking down at the ground at what?
What we see in the water. So we get large mats of living material, and kind of enmeshed in that is all this plastic. And so we look down here and you see just, all through here, little bits, candy wrapper, right? Little bits of plastic. Some of them you don't even notice at first, right? This is white.
It looks organic. Like it looks like it's part of the seaweed here.
Yeah, it
like
really
it's
does.
Weaved in like a tapestry, but when you look closely,
and you don't even have to dig that.
Elastic bands.
Yeah. You don't even have to. If we dug through here, I'm sure we'd see even more. But this is just stuff that's sitting.
Well, there's my
really
sushi from last night. Sam has collected plastic samples from the Great Lakes, and like the plastic gum we chew and toss aside, what they share in common is they don't biodegrade. They linger often invisibly in the environment, and they pose terrible risks.
You get something like this, where you get these beads, these just small little particles of plastic, and the issue is that, from maybe a public relations standpoint, maybe that doesn't look as scary to people as finding a bag or a bottle in the water. But from a scientific standpoint, that's actually a lot scarier because that looks like fish food. And so the concern is that these stuffs make their way into the food chain.
Like a sponge, Plastic pollution absorbs other toxins in the water, which are then ingested by marine life as they make their way into the food chain.
Am I totally overreacting to the concept that gum pollution on the sidewalk is hurting our waterways, or is it something that's so little it's kind of benign?
Well, plastic is plastic in many ways, right? So, what we're finding for polyethylene, polypropylene would be very similar to what we find for polyvinyl acetate. So I would, say if somebody's concerned about plastic, then they should be concerned about this as well. It's all connected, it's all related. Personally, I think that, anything that's getting into our water's the essence of life. So if you're talking about, pollution in our waterways, you're talking about pollution of our being. I mean, we are 70% water. So should we be concerned about any type of pollution going into the water? I don't care what, I don't care what kind of pollution it is. If it's in our water, that is a concern.
It's time to find a way for people to see the pollution gum is creating. And this high-tech company in Toronto was excited to help.
In layman's terms, we're a mapping company. In more professional terms, we call it a GIS, a Geographic Information Systems company. So we provide software and services for analyzing geography.
That's a bus stop?
Yep, that's a bus stop. You can see the density all over the place. That's definitely in Mexico because they're wearing shorts. And that's in London. You can see that.
Oh, right when they get off the bus.
Yeah.
After showing them my original collection of gummed-up sidewalk snapshots from around the world,
Outside the aquarium in London.
I needed to know if they could quantify the amount of gum pollution on my hometown sidewalks using their software.
Yeah, Finland, Iceland, Mexico, and England.
So are we the first to try to actually quantify this?
Yep.
Okay.
First of all, we have very good mapping of Toronto. Toronto's got some of the best mapping anywhere. So we have detailed mapping right down to the sidewalk level. So we can quantify the amount of sidewalk fairly easily. But then we need to figure out how much gum is on each square meter of sidewalk.
So this photograph looks like a lot of the gum pollution I've seen all over the world. So what would you do with the photograph?
Well, we would add it as a layer into the map, and the software can pick out those areas. Right. The software just kind of sweeps back and forth across the image and looks for pixels with a certain value that we tell it to look for, right. And then it identifies them in red. As you can see from the photography and what the software has done, it's done an extremely good job picking out those pieces of gum on the sidewalk.
This is amazing information. What are our next steps?
So our next steps are to, for someone to go out, perhaps you guys, to collect more photography for us from representative areas around the city. So we need gum on sidewalk from the airport, a TTC bus stop, a residential house, a bar, a nightclub, a collection of representative samples. And if you can go out and grab that, then we take the photography and just layer it into the map and run the analysis. And then we come up with that number at the end. And then we can refine it with crowdsourcing photography as well.
Just like the mailman, I work in all weather. Gum hotspots are near schools, malls, bus stops, and you can tell where people lined up outside the nightclub by the gum splatter on the sidewalk. Yuck. If the gum itself is such a pollution problem, what about the packaging that it comes in? Although small in size, the quantity of packs sold globally boggles the mind and annoys Sheila White, a litter activist.
Is gum packaging, can it be recycled?
If it's foils and certain types of bubble plastic, no, they can't be recycled. If it's foil cardboard, there may be problems recycling that. The fact is that manufacturers have been allowed to get away with not taking responsibility for their product litter since time immemorial. It's time to tell the corporations that they need to do this type of thing. Invest 3% of their marketing budget in teaching people how to do the right thing and talking about their product litter problems and taking ownership for them. If they do that, we can move very quickly to solve the litter problem.
One self-funded study at Dartmouth University found that the disposal costs for the top 4 brands of gum packaging in the United States exceeded $2 million yearly, mainly paid for, you guessed it, by the taxpayer, just like the cost of gum removal.
He's gonna litter. Watch him. Here's the piece.
Sheila uses any means at her disposal to connect with gum polluters of all ages.
This is Andrew. I'd like to see if you can identify what this is. Gum? Correct. Gum.
Don't be surprised if you get recruited into one of her gum-themed rap videos, whatever it takes to point out this pollution problem.
And every time you see gum, if you could just say gum.
Okay.
Okay?
Gum, 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 gum,
Gum, gum, gum, gum, gum.
Gum. Gum.
I see the bubble gum, I see the plastic cup. If you throw it down instead, you better pick it up. I've looked at all the evidence that's lying around. Put it in your pocket and not on the ground. Come on, kids. If you saw somebody spit their gum out, would you say anything?
People tend to tell me to fuck off.
So true, because conversations about litter often
Yeah,
turn
people
into
say,
confrontations.
Like, mind your own business, you blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
What did one of the major gum companies tell Sheila when she approached them about gum pollution?
Well, it was a nice 1-hour meeting. It took me 8 months to get my foot in the door to talk about litter. They made it abundantly clear at the beginning of the meeting that they weren't prepared to do anything more than they're already doing on litter. I gave them a number of ideas for furthering education, for taking that social responsibility for the gum litter. But the basic response was, well, we don't want to do that because it's a people problem, not a business problem for us. We're in the business of selling confidence to people because they will have fresh breath when they use our product. What they do with it after that is really of no concern of ours. If they weren't raised properly, you know, c'est la vie. And the last point they'll make is that they don't know that that gum blotch on the ground has been there for 20 years or if it's even their gum. So therefore, they don't want to take responsibility for it. These are all cop-outs. This is an industry that needs to get ahead of the curve now and do what sort of is the 21st century way of doing things, is claiming ownership for problems created and then stepping forward with meaningful solutions, not just Band-Aids.
Everyone likes to point fingers, but we just want to know how extensive the gum problem really is. Thankfully, S-Ray's team now has some answers from using their street mapping technology and image samples of gum sidewalks I provided.
So this is what we have so far. So we know the city of Toronto has 7,100 kilometers of sidewalk. Now we need the area. So we calculate by, say, 1.5 meters wide. We end up with about 10.5 square kilometers of sidewalk. Now, based on some of the original photographs that have been submitted, we came up with an aerial coverage of about 2.7% of this particular area. And if you look at that in terms of the sticks of gum, we come up with a number of about 719 million sticks of gum.
719 million.
719 million.
In Toronto?
In Toronto.
Just in our city?
Just in our city, right?
That's incredible.
It's really incredible. You're looking at roughly about 275 sticks per person, okay? That many sticks times about 2.7 grams per stick actually comes out to, the final number here is, I'm gonna put it up here, is 2,000 tons.
How many elephants is that?
It's a good-sized herd of African elephants, that's for sure, worth of weight of gum on the city sidewalks. It's pretty incredible.
That is unbelievable.
Isn't it something?
Who's to blame? Well, S-Ray's recruiting gum sleuths to track down the culprits. They've created an app that will help us pinpoint where gum tossers are most likely to offend.
The more photos that come in, the further refined we'll know how much gum is in front of a bar, how much is in front of a bus stop, how much is in front of an airport, how much is in front of a hardware store.
Amazing. Totally
Okay.
amazing.
Smartphone users in cities around the world can access this app and build a profile of the gum litter pollution where they live. The app will reveal the magnitude of this problem on a global scale. Speaking of innovation, at Revolimer, they're experimenting with the production of a gum that's chewy but not sticky. The revolutionary polymer would help cut down the time and energy it takes to remove gum from sidewalks. But like any plastic gum today, making the base is the first stage. It may look sticky now, but the secret ingredient still needs to be added.
That is Rev 7 polymer.
Hard, it's like a rubbery, hard plastic.
But if you get it wet,
Yeah.
you lick your fingers and then
Oh, I can't lick my
you
fingers.
can't.
I'm wearing a
really.
smear.
It will become
That's
have a
not good.
slimy surface.
Right.
So something slimy is the antidote for something sticky. Yep, you gotta love this business. Will this be the new gold standard for gum? Chewing gum that doesn't stick.
It still kind of feels like gum, but it's like a stiff dough.
Feed it through the rollers on the left-hand side.
Not only did they let me in here, I'm allowed to operate the machinery. To think that the big gum barons wouldn't even speak to me, and now I'm here making gum. Kids, don't give up on your dreams.
And there you have a slab of chiclets.
We could tile my bathroom with that.
You could do.
Yeah, the edible bathroom.
Yes, it's still candy-coated plastic, but it is of the non-stick variety. They marched me outside to their test lab to compare the Rev 7 removal times with traditional gum. Their gum removal process is done with just a power washer. It took almost 5 minutes to remove a piece of standard gum. Now let's see how long it takes to power wash away a piece of Rev 7.
Get set. Shoot. That last one was 33 seconds for the whole gum to come off.
All right. I'm impressed.
But I think it's a question of actually putting sufficient research and development dollars into the problem, recognizing it is a problem, and it can be solved.
It seems that it's hard to change the rules in this business when you're competing with the gum giants.
The driving force for chewing gum in terms of pollution is it's not really consumer driven. So in many cases, you know, the consumer will drive change. And I think the chewing gum manufacturer as a whole, you know, it's a huge market. It's something like $19 billion a year, and it's extremely profitable. And I don't think that they could identify that they would actually get increased market share if they came out and formed an environmental gum. And I don't think the industry is convinced that it's actually really high on the consumer's, you know, itinerary, because if it was, then you wouldn't see so much gum pollution on the streets.
Although Rev 7 can reduce the cost of gum removal, you still end up with plastic blobs that don't biodegrade. The problem of biodegradability has mystified the industry for decades. ConfectionaryNews.com reported a gum company's claim that their #1 R&D priority was making gum that was easier to remove if disposed of improperly. Well, if the top dogs are looking into it, maybe there's some hope for our sidewalks. Desperate to find a solution, Mexico City came up with a unique idea.
Here at Coyoacan, there's a special tree where if you stick your bubble gum to it and make a wish, it will come true. They say the tree's around here somewhere. Do you know where the tree is where you put chewing gum? The tree where you put the gum? It's over there?
Yeah.
Okay. Although at first this may seem like a fun idea, birds and squirrels began eating gum and dying in the process. Surely there must be a better solution for gum pollution, and it might be found right here in Mexico. Remember chicle? Well, it's kind of making a comeback, and this time I'm here to find out why it might be the next great trend in the world of gum. Pleasure. Nice to meet you. The chicaleros say they've developed a sustainable way of harvesting chicle,
Una rica comida que prepararon hoy.
and everyone in the community pitches in.
Pica, very hot. It's habanero.
Oh yeah, I'm crying.
Sí, ahorita el programa de actividades que tenemos hoy es llegar con doña Olga, que es la persona que por muchos años tradicionalmente da alimentos a la gente que viene a hacer algún trabajo a la comunidad.
When I say everyone in the community pitches in, I wasn't kidding.
Reflejen las cámaras.
They made me an honorary chicalero for the day.
Que caiga cuando...
How bad can that be? Big boots for snakes, insect repellent for everything else.
Pues el proceso de este trabajo se le va haciendo los cortes al árbol. Conforme los cortes son en forma de escalera, forma de que en cada corte va a ir cayendo a otro. Y todos los cortes vienen a dar a un solo cordón de chicle a la bolsa. La bolsa se le pone en el tronco del árbol. Ahí se le pone la bolsa y ahí recibe toda la resina que emana del árbol.
Can I try?
Yes.
Yes? Okay. Technique.
Okay. Yes. No. Pa. Yeah, very good. Aproximadamente de entre 8 años a 9 años más o menos, ya el árbol ya se puede volver a trabajar, ya que pues este tiene como 8 o 9 años que se trabajó. Entre más tiempo tarda el árbol sin trabajarse, más resina produce.
The processing of the raw resin is done right here in the jungle. Oh, like canoeing. Okay.
Yeah, very good.
Yes?
Sí,
¿Sí?
sí.
All right.
Sí, perfecto.
Perfecto.
Muy bien.
Perfecto, muy bien.
Ajá.
Biggest wad of gum ever. This may look like a small operation, but these chicaleros form one crew that's part of a much larger organization.
The general manager for Consorcio Chicalero is Manuel Aldrete.
Nuestra compañía es una cooperativa de cooperativas. Esta empresa de servicios es la responsable de poder controlar la calidad, el acopio, la distribución y comercialización del chicle natural y su transformación en goma de mascar. La gente nos pregunta cuál es la diferencia entre Chixa, esta goma de mascar orgánica, con las otras gomas sintéticas. Si comparamos este producto con el plástico es un polímero, es un químico, es un contaminante. Si uno tira una goma de mascar en el suelo, esa goma, como no es biodegradable, captura más de 60,000 bacterias y las retiene porque no se puede biodegradar y ahí las conserva. En cambio, un chicle orgánico que es vegetal, que es vegano, que es orgánico, que viene de la selva, se biodegrada y regresa a la selva, regresa a la tierra.
You choose something that's artificial, full of artificial flavors and sweeteners, made with an artificial gum base? Or do you go back to something that's natural, that comes from places like this, the Mayan rainforest, and helps support communities that are trying to keep traditions alive? My week-long trip to Mexico and my year-long journey making this film has reminded me that even the little things we consume, like chewing gum, can have a massive environmental impact. Thankfully, we found an environmentally friendly alternative in Chicle. It's something that makes sense for my kids and the world they'll inherit. Unfortunately, it isn't realistic to believe that the world's desire to chew will be supplied by this community, but it's a start. Hopefully, the story will inspire the manufacturers and consumers of trillions of sticks of gum to find a more responsible way to enjoy the ancient pleasures of chewing without trashing our planet.